The European Union has threatened new sanctions on Belarus after President Alexander Lukashenko looked certain to score his 7th consecutive election win since 1994. Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas released a joint statement with Enlargement Commissioner Marta Kos, slamming the sham election. The relentless and unprecedented repression of human rights have deprived the electoral process of any legitimacy, the statement said. They didn't give any more details about what the eventual new sanctions package would target or when it would be implemented. Final votes are still being counted and the result is expected to be announced later on Monday. But state television said on Sunday that Lukashenko was on course to take almost 88% of the vote. His 2020 election win was also dismissed as a sham by the West, and the result sparked weeks of widespread protests across the country. That prompted a brutal crackdown by security forces and led to 65,000 arrests. Belarus is holding an estimated 1,200 political prisoners. Since July, Lukashenko has released around 250 that rights activists say were jailed for political reasons.
Никакие они не политзаключенные. Они нарушили уголовный кодекс. Если кому-то интересно это, мы можем уголовное дело сейчас показать и показать, какие статьи закона нарушены. Можно сказать, что закон у нас плохой, но он закон. Я же об этом говорил.
But it's unlikely that the condemnation from Western leaders or the threatened EU sanctions will make much of a difference to Lukashenko. I don't give a damn about the West, he told the press in Minsk. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says Kyiv can supply Moldova with coal to ensure its energy needs. Zelensky was speaking in Kyiv with his Moldovan counterpart Maya Sandu. His comments come after natural gas from Russia to Europe via Ukraine ended on the 1st of January after Kyiv refused to renew a transit agreement. Moldova's pro-Russia breakaway territory of Transnistria has been particularly hard hit by that decision. It was heavily dependent on Russian gas, and when that supply ended, so too did most industrial activity. Authorities in the region declared a state of emergency and implemented power cuts of up to 8 hours a day. Russia says it shut off the gas to Moldova because of an alleged €688 million debt for past supplies, an allegation that the Moldovan government has fiercely denied. Sandu accused Russia of a calculated strategy to create social and economic chaos. Swedish prosecutors have opened a preliminary investigation into suspected sabotage after a data cable was ruptured in the Baltic Sea on Sunday. Prosecutors have also ordered the detention of the vessel suspected of damaging the fibre optic cable connecting Latvia and the Swedish island of Gotland. The Swedish Coast Guard said they were positioned near the vessel, which local media identified as the Malta-flagged Vezhen. According to data from Vessel Finder, it left a port in Russia several days ago and was navigating between Gotland and Latvia at the time the damage is believed to have occurred. Latvia's State Radio and Television Centre said it recorded disruptions in data transmission on the cable and concluded there was a rupture.
Esam arī konstatējuši, ka visdrīzāk ir ārējas ietekmes bojājums konstatēts, un tam ir jābūt gana būtiskam, jo arī ir iesaistījušies jūras spēki un ir arī apsekojuši potenciālo notikumu vietu. Tāpat arī LVRTC pēc saviem datiem konstatē, ka šāds ārējs bojājums un kaitējums ir gana iespējams.
Sunday's damage follows a string of incidents that have heightened fears of Russian sabotage and spying in the strategic region. Earlier this month, NATO launched a mission dubbed Baltic Sentry to provide enhanced surveillance and deterrence in the Baltic Sea. Thousands of people have gathered in Athens and in more than 100 other cities across Greece to demand justice after the Tembe rail disaster in which 57 people were killed. It was the largest protest in Greece for more than a decade. The protests follow the release of a chilling new audio recording suggesting that dozens of victims may have died in a fire after Greece's worst rail disaster. It was previously thought all the victims of the February 2023 collision died in the crash. Demonstrators rallied around the slogan, "I have no oxygen," which was heard in the newly released audio.
Φάνηκε σήμερα, όλοι οι Έλληνες επιθυμούμε ένα λειτουργικό, πραγματικό κράτος δικαίου. Έχουμε βγει στους δρόμους και φωνάζουμε. Ελπίζω να μας ακούσουν και μέχρι τις Βρυξέλλες.
The crash happened on the line linking Athens with Thessaloniki when a freight train and a passenger train crashed head-on. That triggered protests across Greece, with many protesters saying the collision reflected years of neglect of the rail network after a decade-long financial crisis. The cause of death of many of the victims still hasn't been determined, and families accuse the government of trying to cover up evidence.
Μετά το τέλος της ογκώδους και καθόλου ειρηνικής συγκέντρωσης, πέριξ της πλατείας Συντάγματος, κυρίως μπροστά από το Υπουργείο Οικονομικών και στα προπήλαια του Πανεπιστημίου, προκλήθηκαν επεισόδια ανάμεσα σε μερίδα διαδηλωτών και αστυνομικές δυνάμεις, με τις τελευταίες να κάνουν χρήση χημικών.
Police say one protester was arrested and that violence broke out after groups of hooded men broke away from the crowd and attacked the police with Molotov cocktails and stones.
People around the world are paying tribute to the victims of the Holocaust on its 80th anniversary. Prime Minister of the Netherlands, Dick Schoof, along with hundreds of people, attended a Holocaust commemoration in Amsterdam on Sunday, held at the Auschwitz Memorial in Woutenpark. Jacques Grishever from the Dutch Auschwitz Committee reflects on the enduring pain of the Holocaust.
De pijn is niet verdwenen, maar heeft mij wel steeds de kracht gegeven om te vechten voor een wereld waarin nooit meer Auschwitz niet slechts een belofte blijkt, maar ook een werkelijkheid wordt. Nooit meer Auschwitz is meer dan een herdenkingskreet. Het is een opdracht.
Whilst Auschwitz survivor Barbara Donetska, who was 10 years old at the time, carries the memory of those who perished in the camps, especially her 4-year-old friend Helena. Shaken by Helena's death, she returns to the camp to pay tribute.
Zastanawiam się, jak ja to mogłam przeżyć, ten głód, to zimno. Strach o życie przede wszystkim. Oj, okropnie, jak się płakały, Boże.
Nazi Germany claimed over 6 million Jewish lives, but also millions of others, including Poles, Roma, and Sinti, Soviet prisoners of war, gay people, and others targeted for elimination in Adolf Hitler's racial ideology.
An agreement has been reached to release an Israeli civilian hostage held by Hamas and allow Palestinians to return to northern Gaza. Mediator Qatar said Hamas will hand over Arbel Yehud and 2 other hostages before Friday. On Monday, Israeli authorities will allow Palestinians to return to their homes in northern Gaza. The office of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a statement that the hostage release will take place on Thursday. The Prime Minister also confirmed that Palestinians can move north on Monday, with the IDF saying people can start crossing on foot at 7 a.m. local time. That comes after Israel said on Saturday that displaced Palestinians wouldn't be allowed to return to northern Gaza until Yehud was released. Also on Sunday, US President Donald Trump suggested neighboring countries could take in Palestinians to clean out Gaza. Trump described the Strip as a demolition site and suggested moving Palestinians away from Gaza could be temporary, could be long-term. Hamas and the Palestinian Authority criticized that suggestion, and it was rejected by both Jordan and Egypt.
At least 15 people have been killed and more than 80 people injured in southern Lebanon after Israeli troops opened fire on protesters who had breached roadblocks that the army set up a day before the 60-day deadline to withdraw Israeli troops. According to Lebanon's health ministry, the demonstrators on Sunday attempted to enter several villages in the border area to protest Israel's failure to withdraw its troops. The Israeli military set up the roadblocks across border towns and roads in a strategic valley in southern Lebanon on Saturday. Israel has said it needs to stay longer because the Lebanese army has not deployed to all areas of the region as stipulated in a ceasefire deal that halted the Israel-Hezbollah war in late November. A day before the deadline, the UNIFIL peacekeeping forces' trip to border towns in southern Lebanon showed large swaths of the area destroyed from Israeli bombardments.
Representatives from international organizations and academics met in Rome on Friday to discuss ways to preserve Syria's cultural heritage following the fall of Bashar al-Assad. The event marked the end of the Syrian Heritage Week, organized by the Rome-based Heritage International Institute, the first major international organization to launch a global call to action to preserve Syria's cultural assets. The initiative represents the first step toward establishing a special international task force set to be deployed to Syria in the coming months.
Abbiamo i maggiori esperti in materia e noi, a fine anche di questi 5 giorni sulla Siria, presenteremo questi progetti e renderemo esecutivo tutto quello che stiamo dicendo. Stiamo raccogliendo tutto il materiale possibile per poterlo poi presentare e poi renderlo esecutivo, soprattutto poi facendo ricorso a fondazioni che possono darci la possibilità poi effettivamente di poter avere dei fondi per poter poi eseguire effettivamente quello che stiamo scrivendo e che stiamo facendo in questi giorni della task force.
Over 30 universities joined the week-long event, with Roma Tre University hosting a debate on multilateral cooperation.
Abbiamo deciso di ospitare un evento focalizzato proprio sul tema della cooperazione allo sviluppo e come la cooperazione allo sviluppo, declinata in un'ottica culturale, quindi con una definizione a 360 gradi sul tema e sulla definizione stessa di patrimonio culturale, possa costituire un asset centrale per intervenire in un contesto nel quale comunque il patrimonio culturale è evidentemente a rischio.
Discussions continue on Monday when the Heritage International Institute will host a plenary to decide how the special task force will be formed. Giorgio Orlandi for Euronews in Rome.